everybody know my son King. He's a passionate young man.
He's very passionate.
Yeah, and he has some tumultuous times. But the Lord ain't through with him yet.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, and he get better every day and learn from his mistakes the same way any of us did when we was that age.
Does he remind you of yourself when you was younger?
You know what he does? He reminds me of myself at a time in my life where I made the most egregious mistakes I could ever make. You know what I'm saying? And I paid dearly for them. But he has something that I never had.
Right.
And that's me.
Right.
And his mama. You know what I'm saying? He has a way of garnering attention for himself.
When people think of Atlanta rap legends, T.I. always makes the list. He branded himself King of the South, built a catalog of classic records, and transformed his hustle into TV, movies, and business ventures. For years, he wasn't just the voice of the trap, he was also the image of a family man, starring alongside Tiny and their kids on the VH1 reality show T.A. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. On screen, the Harris family looked picture perfect. Kids in private schools, matching outfits, everyone laughing in big houses. But behind those cameras, it was way more complicated, especially when it came to T.I.'s son, King Harris. King grew up with everything most kids could dream of: money, fame, opportunities, and the spotlight. But instead of embracing that silver spoon, he spent most of his teenage years trying to convince the world he was from the streets. Even during the family's reality show run, insiders later admitted that while the cameras were filming King in mansions, he was actually spending most of his time at his grandmother's house, away from the luxuries. That detail set the tone for his identity crisis. On one hand, the world saw him as privileged. On the other, King wanted everyone to believe he was outside, moving like a kid from the trenches. As King got older, that conflict turned into straight-up defiance. He started clashing publicly with his parents, especially T.I. He'd go on Instagram Live arguing with his dad, insisting he wasn't raised soft. In one viral clip, King told T.I. to his face, "I'm from the hood. I wasn't raised in no mansion." T.I., visibly frustrated, clapped back, telling his son he was lying to himself, that he grew up surrounded by wealth and privilege. But King wouldn't back down. That exchange became a meme, proof to fans that King was desperately trying to rewrite his origin story. The arguments weren't just words. King's behavior matched the image he was chasing. He racked up multiple run-ins with the law, traffic stops where police found marijuana and firearms, videos of him mouthing off to officers, even short stints locked up. Instead of humbling him, these moments seemed to boost his ego. He'd brag about them online, post mugshots, and spin the narrative that he was cut from the same cloth as street rappers. To his parents, it was embarrassing. To fans, it was confusing. And to King, it was validation. But the controversy didn't stop with his attempts to look street. It exploded when a leaked video hit the internet showing King in a compromising position with another man. The footage spread fast, with blogs and social media dragging him for days. Some said it was fake, others swore it was real, but the damage was done. King went from trying to brand himself as a tough street kid to being the punchline of viral jokes. And what made it worse? Rumors swirled that T.I. himself tried to cover it up, leaning on his influence to silence blogs and reporters. The streets ate it up, though. For years, T.I. had built an image of hyper-masculinity, bragging about being a ladies' man, the family patriarch, the tough dad keeping his kids in line. Now his son's name was tied to gossip that directly clashed with everything T.I. stood for. And whether the tape was legit or not, the perception was enough to stain both King's reputation and his father's carefully built brand. At that point, the Harris household drama wasn't just family business. It was trending content. And instead of pulling back, King leaned into it, continuing to wild out online, making sure his name stayed buzzing, even if it was for the wrong reasons.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care too much. That shit didn't affect me. That just made your source. That just made your information that you talk about not credible.
But he broke the mold when he...
They all got the same structure face.
It made me very special.
Who?
They just got different hairstyles.
Because I live with my grandma. You know, we'll go to the house on like a weekend. They'll say, hey, we shooting today. We need y'all at the house. They'll come get me from my grandma's house. And right after we done, when the cameras go off, I'm right back to my grandma's house.
After the leaked video scandal, King Harris's reputation was in flames. The clip sparked non-stop conversation, with blogs reposting it and fans clowning him as if his whole street image was a joke. For a kid who spent years trying to look hard, it was the ultimate humiliation. And what made things worse? The internet swore T.I. was working overtime behind the scenes to scrub the footage. Insiders claimed he called in favors, trying to silence blogs and threaten smaller pages that kept sharing it. That move only added fuel, because once people see you trying to erase something, they start believing it's real. T.I.'s image took a hit right along with King's. For decades, Tip had cultivated his brand as the alpha male, the strict father, the man who ran his household with authority. Now he was being painted as a dad desperately covering up for his son. To fans, it looked like T.I. was losing control of his own family. Every headline about King made him look weaker, and the streets started questioning if the King of the South had lost his throne inside his own house. And then came more chaos, this time from King's personal life. Not long after the video drama, word spread that King had become a father himself. But instead of joy, the announcement turned into more gossip. His baby mama, known online as Big Nana, immediately became part of the circus. Their relationship was rocky from the jump. Messy Instagram lives, public arguments, and accusations flying back and forth. At one point, rumors swirled that the baby might not even be King's biological child. Fans clowned him mercilessly, saying the wannabe gangster couldn't even control his own situation at home. Big Nana didn't hold back either. She went online airing out details about King's behavior, calling him immature and unstable. She hinted that his family wasn't supportive and suggested that King's lifestyle wasn't fit for fatherhood. Those comments spread fast, fueling the idea that King wasn't just reckless on the streets, he was reckless in his personal life too. And for T.I. and Tiny, it was more embarrassment. Their household drama, already a hot topic, now had another layer that blogs couldn't resist. Behind closed doors, whispers said Tiny and T.I. weren't even on the same page about how to handle it all. Tiny reportedly wanted to approach the situation with more transparency, letting King live his truth and addressing the gossip head-on. T.I., on the other hand, leaned towards shutting everything down, silencing rumors, and protecting the family brand at all costs. That clash of strategies created more tension inside the Harris household. Some fans even speculated that Tiny secretly sided with King, while T.I. focused more on saving face. The pressure didn't stop there. People started revisiting the family's old reality show, T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. Clips of a younger King acting out resurfaced, with fans saying the signs of his rebellion were always there. But back then, VH1 edited it into funny family moments. Now in hindsight, viewers said it looked like a preview of the chaos we're seeing today. Instead of the polished family hustle, the reality looked more like dysfunction. And while King was spiraling in the public eye, T.I.'s other children were quietly trying to avoid the spotlight. But even they got pulled into the gossip. King's scandals became ammo for fans and critics to drag the entire Harris clan. It wasn't just about King anymore. It was about whether T.I. really had control of his family at all. For King, though, the drama didn't slow him down. If anything, it seemed to fuel him. Every time the internet thought he'd been embarrassed enough to chill, he found a way to make headlines again. Whether it was flashing money online, talking tough, or trolling his critics, King doubled down on keeping his name hot. But the streets weren't laughing with him, they were laughing at him. And for a kid trying to prove he's cut from gangster cloth, that's the most dangerous image of all.
Okay, I see. What up, y'all? It's your boy King, a.k.a. New King of the South.
AKA Junior. This is Tip, King of the South Senior, and this is Goat Talk with Complex.
I could go back to when King was Eris's age.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back to when Major was my granddaughter's age. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for family.
While King Harris was busy wilding out in public, another Harris kid was quietly fading into the background. Messiah Harris, T.I.'s oldest son. Messiah had always been different from his siblings. He wasn't chasing rap fame or reality TV shine. He was more laid back, into music behind the scenes. But fans noticed something strange. During the height of the family's reality show, Messiah started showing up less and less. Eventually, he disappeared from the spotlight altogether. That absence sparked rumors. Some insiders whispered that Messiah didn't fit the family brand T.I. and Tiny wanted to push. Others suggested his sexuality was part of the reason he was quietly moved out of the spotlight. The streets speculated T.I. didn't fully support Messiah's lifestyle, especially with the hyper-masculine image he built for himself. Whether true or not, the rumors fueled a narrative that T.I. cared more about protecting his image than embracing his kids as they were. Meanwhile, King was doing the exact opposite, putting everything out there, no filter. The contrast between the two brothers was loud. Messiah stayed quiet, avoiding the mess, while King dragged the family name through the mud every other week. For T.I., it was the worst of both worlds. One son he was accused of silencing, and another he couldn't control. And it wasn't just the sons making headlines. Tiny herself got pulled into the drama, with fans calling her out for being too lenient with King. Some even said she enabled his behavior by bailing him out and defending him online. There were clips of Tiny laughing off King's antics when he was younger, treating his disrespect like comedy for the cameras. Now that he was grown and reckless, critics said she helped create the monster. The public perception of T.I. was shifting fast. He once stood tall as the king of the South, a rapper who fought his way from the trap to the top. He had turned himself into a family man with a hit TV show, balancing music, business, and fatherhood. But now, instead of seeing a strong patriarch, fans saw a man losing grip. Every headline about King's scandals chipped away at his authority. And with rumors about Messiah being pushed aside, the Harris family image looked faker than ever. The internet never let up. Memes of King's outbursts spread daily. Clips of T.I. arguing with his son turned into punchlines. Even King's claim that he was really from the hood got roasted nonstop, with fans reminding him he grew up in mansions while calling him the rich kid pretending to be gangster. And when the leaked video surfaced, the streets turned him into a meme factory. T.I.'s brand, once untouchable, became comedy fodder, and yet King seemed to thrive on it. Instead of laying low, he leaned into the attention. He wanted to prove he couldn't be embarrassed, no matter what came out. But that mindset only dragged his father's legacy further down. T.I. built his career on respect. Respect from the streets, respect from the rap game, respect as a businessman. But respect and ridicule don't mix. And now his son was making him look like the butt of every joke. What made it worse is that T.I. couldn't clap back the way he did with rappers. When 50 Cent or Lil Flip came at him, Tip fired off bars and interviews until he shut them down. But with King, that was his blood. No amount of clapbacks could erase the fact that his own son was undermining his image. The Harris family, once portrayed as reality TV royalty, now looked dysfunctional, messy, and out of control. For T.I., the man who once told the world he had everything on lock, this was the biggest threat to his legacy yet. Not a rival rapper, not the feds, but his own household.
What's up with it? It's your boy King, aka Kid Sam, and we jumping out the porch with Dirty Glove Bastards. Yeah. Every time we get into it about something crazy can happen. So I feel like that's a big risk.
Man, I feel like you're the one out of all your siblings, like you like the rebel out of everybody.
For all the scandals, fights, and messy headlines, King Harris eventually found himself facing the one thing that forces anybody to grow up: fatherhood. When news broke that King had welcomed his first child with Big Nana, the internet was quick to clown. Memes poured in, people questioned if he was ready, and some even doubted whether the baby was really his. But through all the noise, King started showing glimpses of maturity. For the first time, he seemed focused on something bigger than himself. Being a young father in the public eye ain't easy. Every mistake gets magnified. Every slip turns into a headline. And King had already built a reputation as reckless. But stepping into that role gave him a chance to flip the script. Even critics noticed small changes. Less time on live arguing with fans, more posts showing his child, and moments where he admitted he had to move differently now that he had someone depending on him. For the kid who spent years chasing chaos, It was the first real sign of growth. But fans weren't quick to forgive or forget. The leaked video, the constant fights with T.I., the baby mama drama, all of it left King stamped as a clown in a lot of people's eyes. Every time he posted about being a dad, the comments were full of jokes about his past. That's the problem with the internet. Once you become a meme, it's hard to shake that image, no matter how much you change. For T.I., watching his son grow into fatherhood while carrying so much baggage was bittersweet. On one hand, he saw the same fire he once had, the hunger to be his own man, even if it meant going against the grain. On the other, he saw the consequences of trying to build an image instead of living reality. Ty spent years carefully crafting his brand, and King tore it apart in a few reckless moves. Now the Harris name was tied to scandals instead of success stories. Inside the family, the tension was still there. Tiny reportedly tried to keep the peace, standing by her son and reminding T.I. that King had to figure things out his own way. Tip, however, was stuck between pride and embarrassment. Every time his son made headlines, it dragged his name right back into the mud. For a man who once stood tall as the king of the South, watching the world laugh at his son hurt deeper than any rap beef ever could. And then there's the bigger question. What does all this mean for T.I.'s legacy? He built himself up as a hustler turned mogul, a street legend who made it out, and a family man who showed the world a different side of hip-hop. But King's antics flipped that image upside down. Instead of respect, the Harris name gets jokes. Instead of admiration, it gets side eyes. For the culture, it's proof that no matter how strong your brand is, family chaos can crack the foundation. Still, King embracing fatherhood shows there might be hope. If he truly locks in, matures, and learns from his mistakes, he could rewrite his narrative the same way his father once did. T.I. had his own run-ins with the law, his own scandals, and still came out respected. King might not be there yet, but the blueprint is right in front of him. In the end, the Harris story is bigger than gossip blogs and leaked videos. It's about a father trying to hold on to his crown, a son trying to prove himself, and a family caught between fame and dysfunction. Whether they bounce back or not, one thing's certain, the world will keep watching, waiting to see if King Harris grows into his name or stays locked in the shadow of scandal.